Once upon a time, on a beautiful evening, a young princess decided to take a walk in the woods near her castle. She put on her bonnet and clogs and headed out all by herself. Soon she found a cool, clear spring of water bubbling up from the ground. It was the perfect spot to rest. In her hand she held her most prized possession, a beautiful golden ball. It was her favorite toy, and she loved tossing it high into the air and catching it as it fell. She tossed it up and up, higher and higher, but this time she threw it just a little too high. She reached out, but missed. The golden ball bounced away, rolled across the grass, and with a small splash fell right into the spring. The princess peered into the water, but the spring was so deep she couldn't see the bottom. Her heart sank. She started to cry, wailing, "Oh, my beautiful golden ball. If I could only get it back, I would give away all my fancy clothes, my jewels, everything I own." As she sobbed, a little green frog poked its head out of the water. "Princess," it croaked, "why are you weeping so bitterly?" The princess looked at the frog in surprise. "Alas," she said, "what could you possibly do for me, you slimy little frog? My golden ball has fallen into the spring." The frog replied, "I don't want your pearls or your jewels or your fine clothes. But if you promise to love me, let me live with you, eat from your golden plate, and sleep on your bed. I will get your ball back for you." The princess thought to herself, "What silly nonsense. This frog can't possibly leave the spring, but he might be able to get my ball." So she decided to agree. "Fine," she said. "If you bring me my ball, I will do everything you ask." Hearing this, the frog dove deep into the water. A moment later, he resurfaced with the golden ball in his mouth and tossed it onto the grass at her feet. The princess was overjoyed. She snatched up her precious ball, forgetting all about the little frog. She turned and ran back to the castle as fast as she could. "Wait," the frog called after her. "Princess, take me with you, like you promised." But she didn't even slow down. The very next day, the princess was sitting down for dinner with her father, the king. Suddenly, they heard a strange noise. Tap, tap, plash, plash. It sounded like something wet was climbing the marble staircase. Then a gentle knock came at the door, and a tiny voice sang out, "Open the door, my princess dear, open the door to thy true love here, and remember the promise you and I said by the cool fountain in the greenwood shade." The princess ran to the door and opened it. There, on the step, was the frog. She had completely forgotten about him. She was so frightened that she slammed the door shut and hurried back to her seat. The king noticed how scared she was and asked, "What's the matter, my dear?" She explained, "There's a nasty frog at the door. He got my ball out of the spring for me, and I promised he could live with me. I never thought he could actually get out of the water." Just then they heard the knock again and the same little song. The king looked at his daughter sternly. "A promise is a promise," he said. "You gave your word and you must keep it. Go and let him in." With a heavy heart, she opened the door. The frog hopped into the room and made his way tap tap plash plash right up to her chair. "Please lift me up so I can sit next to you," he said. She did. Now put your plate closer so I can eat from it, he demanded. She did that too. After he had eaten his fill, the frog said, I'm tired. Carry me upstairs to your bed. The princess was horrified, but she knew she had to keep her promise. She picked up the cold, damp frog, carried him to her room, and placed him on the pillow of her own bed. He slept there all night. The next morning, he hopped down and left the castle. Finally, the princess thought he's gone for good. But that night, the tapping returned. The little song was sung, and she had to let him in again. He ate from her plate and slept on her pillow for a second night. And on the third night, it happened all over again. But when the princess awoke the next morning, she got the biggest surprise of her life. Instead of the cold, slimy frog, a handsome prince was standing at the head of her bed, gazing at her with the kindest eyes she had ever seen. He explained that a wicked fairy had cursed him, turning him into a frog. The spell could only be broken if a princess let him eat from her plate and sleep in her bed for 3 nights. You, the prince said with a smile, have broken the cruel charm. Now all I wish is for you to come with me to my father's kingdom, where I will marry you and love you forever. The princess, seeing how kind and noble he was, quickly said yes. At that very moment, a magnificent coach pulled by 8 white horses with feathered plumes arrived. They said goodbye to the king and rode off together, full of joy, to the prince's kingdom where they lived happily ever after.